do the text stuff. You could do all the image stuff. They created a bunch of apps on there. Mog Machine did a great job of pushing that. And 19 is kind of like where these guys sort of like learned the trade of the incentive mechanisms, and Namoray, like, hit some home runs with some of the front end stuff, probably honed his trade there on that. And then when he combined with Jon, who Jon had been mining like half the subnets on Bittensor, and the dude is like wicked smart. You can tell by the way he talks and the demos he shows about it, some of the stuff he shares on his screen and the things and the rate at which he ships things. And when you take people like Namoray and Jon and Wandering Weights and the rest of the team at Rayon, and you eliminate the corporate and the middle management structure and any kind of approval process of like, here's how you got, we gotta A/B test it, we gotta put it through the we gotta make sure the team tests it. Like in Bittensor, it doesn't matter because we trust this team to just ship. So if you ship something and it doesn't work, well, you ship the last 15 things and they all hit a home run. So just like keep taking chances. And speaking of like vibe coding, so when these guys have like something that they want to deliver and they're taking some more time dropping squad, which is probably good because that's like there's more attention on that launch than anything that Bittensor has ever released other than Dynamic Tau, probably. And so they're taking a little bit of time with that. But outside of that, they just continue to ship things with Chutes all the time. And all of the stuff that on the back end that they've built in around the security for the mining side, and they've got the Kubernetes piece in there. And it's like they have incorporated things into the development that has just like used all the best practices for the subnet owner. Spent a bunch of time building the incentive mechanism and learning it all on 19 in the previous year. Get a miner involved in your development. That's Jon, who has breadth of experience throughout the whole ecosystem. Have a back end guy at, I think it's Boniver I don't remember the name of his exact.
It's something like that.
Yeah, and that you trust, that can also just ship at the same rate as Namoray, who's shipping all the front end stuff, and then have someone like Mog involved in 19 who can like push the whole message and then diversify into the training side with Wandering on gradients, and you end up with this like trifecta of utility that is delivering exactly what we always wanted with Bittensor. Because the thing that we would say in the early days in the smaller circles that I was in was like, we should be able to launch anything on Hugging Face, and we should be able to train models, and we should be able, like, all the things that was like we should be able to do in a decentralized way. Well, here it is. Speaking of like the prophecy or whatever, like all these things that I joke about things that we talked about with Bittensor, like we could have 100 subnets. What do you mean 8? Like it's all happening. Every single thing almost is happening or is going to happen. And really the only thing left is the price. And that will come because at this point, with the market the way it is, nobody's going to pump anything that doesn't have some very, very high value underneath, because nobody wants to take any risk. And what you're watching with the development of all these subnets, and not just Rayon, but everybody else, is the confirmation of undeniable utility and value in Bittensor that is far out surpassing 250 times, 8.2 million or whatever the circulating supply is. Like the fact that this ecosystem is floating around $2 billion as a market cap is a total joke for what is going on underneath the hood. And I will keep saying that. And when we're at 10 billion, I'll say it. And when we're at 50 billion, I'll say it. And I don't know when it'll change, because as the bigger we get, the bigger fish are going to come in. And you can see the whole thing spinning up now. And it's just beautiful.
Yeah, 50 billion, you'll still be saying that. JJ has said quadrillions. Do you have any vision like that for the ceiling that this thing could become or turn into?
Yeah, because the thing that JJ understands is that artificial intelligence has no ceiling. Like, then when you take a protocol like Bittensor, that is the fairest thing that exists, not only in crypto at this point, but in artificial intelligence itself, because it allows anybody to invest in it. You don't have to be a VC. You could be anyone. You could be my grandma, and you could own Bittensor. My mom owns Bittensor. She doesn't know anything about AI. She just knows it's going to eat her job and everybody else's. So she wants a piece. And that's the thing. That's what Bittensor allows. Anybody can get in and launch a subnet. The prices aren't even that high anymore, especially considering what, you might have to raise to launch a normal business or whatever. And the ability for this thing to use the trusted tokenomics of Bitcoin, which has now been 15 years out there, and everyone believes in it, obviously, as the number one sort of cryptocurrency. But we can use that to like legitimize our creation of value as well. And the thing that you can't measure is the impact that artificial intelligence is going to have, because it's going to be unmeasurable, sort of, because it's going to start doing things that are not even accounted for in GDP and value creation, because it's going to allow for problems to be solved that are simply today unmanageable. And I believe that Bittensor is like a proving ground for that. And you can listen to any one of my podcasts, and I probably talk about it on almost every single one. If you give the power to one of these larger companies like the OpenAIs or, Anthropic's maybe a little better, but any of these centralized Google, any of these centralized entities, that is a timeline that this, humanity does not want to be on. Because that's way too much power in one entity's hands, and you gotta democratize it. You gotta split it up. You gotta allow anyone to own it, and you gotta do it in the fairest way possible. And that's what Bittensor does, especially with dynamic tau and alpha. It's undeniable that this method of allowing access to the development of artificial intelligence to everybody is not only going to be successful, but it appears that it could also just sort of take over the way that technology is designed, distributed, sort of like value is associated with it, because I do believe it's really creating a new paradigm for associating value with technology companies, and specifically with AI.
When do you think we hit that mass adoption point? Or do you think we've already hit it? Because Chutes yesterday, I believe, announced they had 15,000 new active users in a day, like signups in one day.
You're seeing it happen like right before our very eyes, and you need the code-free agent create. You need something that's code-free that people can drag and drop and do these different these different artificial intelligence sort of like creative operations, but that aren't just prompting with an LLM and prompt engineering and the whole thing, that have a different level of sort of like control and incorporation of different data sets and data flow. And that's what Chutes is going to bring. And I expect that businesses, just like businesses are created around, the APIs for OpenAI and ChatGPT, and you've got entire companies being launched and designed around using these centralized models as a backend, you will have in companies, subnets, just things that you do in your life with your agents that you create to help you sort of operate in the world, that will now start to happen in a decentralized way on Chutes. That's what I believe, is you're not going to see these, and you're going to see lower prices. You're going to see always uptime, because it's all on the backs of Bittensor. Everyone thinks, it's Chutes. It's just, but underlying all that is Bittensor itself. Like, Chutes is built on the decentralized infrastructure that this ecosystem has been pounding the crap out of for 3 years, making it stronger, making it better. Of course, they themselves on the subnet have had large leaps in how they've used the incentive design and some of the other things we already talked about, but just incorporating these into how Chutes runs has taken this subnet into and just shown everybody what's possible, essentially. And that's why and how I think we will start to see that mass adoption that you're asking about is we're going to have now the consumer friendly version of interacting with artificial intelligence on a much deeper level than just prompting.
What would you say to the argument of Bittensor starting to become too dependent on some of these individuals, like Jon Durbin with Chutes, being basically developing the entire code base they have solo? And then the second biggest, I believe, right now is like Targon, with Josh being pretty much the primary developer there. And then the third one is Gradients, I think, right now. And as far as I know, Wandering Waits is like the primary guy there. So it seems like these big ones, it requires one special individual. What do you make of this?
Would it be better if there was, 10 or 15 shoots instead of one? Yep, but there's not. So I don't know what to tell you. You can go down the list and you can see what the subnets are generating, and you can jump onto whatever digital commodity, whether it's serverless compute on Chutes or 19 inference or the 1, 2, 3 click training that's happening on Gradients, or the inference that's happening on Targon, and the stuff that's coming up with the privacy that they're going to, it's going to allow them to work with entities that need that extra level of security, or the stuff that's coming out of Macrocosmos with subnets 1, 25, and 13. I already talked about it, but the stuff from 404 that you can generate, or the TensorPlex using the kind of mining the human mind. And you can go down the list of all these things, but you can't come up with one that has not only that has the ability to power almost an entire thing like OpenTensor that was already doing fine without it, but it just came in and took the whole thing over, and launches new models like immediately. And now you're getting this bleed over from open router users that are coming over just to use Chutes specifically because it's one layer up in the stack. Why would you use the second thing? You have an API on Chutes anyway for all the models. So I do not think that Chutes will be the only subnet to ever trade at this value. It's just the first one. There has to be a first one. It can't just be this is why we got off the old train of, and I was part of the problem with this stuff, but when I'm allocating value to subnets, can I give 30% as a validator to one subnet? No, I don't think so. Okay, I can give them 10. Then I give the next one 8. And then the next one, then they give 4 or 5, 7, and that's what it was. If you go look at the thing, and you can go look at it for BitTensor Guru, or you can look at it for the whole ecosystem, because it wasn't just me that was doing it, but you very rarely had any subnets getting above I don't know, 10, 12% or something. Mostly it was distributed. And that was good, because during that time we were incubating 64, little, baby technology projects. And some of them grew up into being a T-Rex that's going to eat the rest of or maybe not eat the rest of them, maybe invite the rest in, or something. But, a couple of them exploded based on that incubation process, and about 50 of them didn't. And about 10 of them look pretty good, but we don't really know, are they going to go the distance? Are they going to create the value? Are they going to continue to ship at the rate that that's the thing. How many people are in the Rayon Labs team? I don't know what it is. It's less than 10 probably. Sounds like it might be less than 8.
They keep their circle tight.
Right. Okay, you don't even need that many people. I know Macrocosmos, they have more subnets, but they're at 31, 33, whatever it is. And then you have some other teams that I see we have 10 people. It's what the hell's everyone doing? So if this team's shipping with 8, and yes, okay, you got some unicorns in that 8 that are delivering very high value